Okay, hello everyone, wherever you are from. Um, Different kind of video, not a match reaction. We are playing today. We need to win. But anyway, not about that today. I wanted to make a video based on some introspection I've been doing recently. I want to talk about, you know, judgment slash rejection and the fear of it. And basically this is going to be more about my experiences. I can't speak for everyone else. I only speak about my experiences, how it sort of affected my life decisions and choices, where it stems from, how to sort of overcome it, in my opinion. Okay, so basically with me, if I had to start somewhere, it would probably start in sort of like primary school. That time I was a pretty chubby kid. I didn't play any sport. I was focused on academics a lot, and I had like man boobs, or like gyno, so I was kind of picked on for it. Not that badly, but like it's still screwed my head. In fact, let me just wait. Let me actually just show you guys. Right, so you can sort of see I got the abs there, and then if I turn to the side, you can sort of see like the kind of still there. But right? We'll just do it shirtless. This is about judgment. We're a judgment-free zone. I also have a little light with me, just so you can see me better. Yeah, so that's basically what it is. Chubby kid, man boobs. Didn't have a lot of real confidence in myself. And I remember as I got older, this started becoming a bit of an insecurity for me, to the point where like I was afraid of taking my shirt off, like anywhere. Like even during school, like we used to play soccer or something, and like the teams was like, okay, shirts on versus shirts off. I was always like way too embarrassed to take my shirt off, because I was afraid of like being bullied and stuff. Basically fear of being judged or humiliated, that's what we're talking about here, right? And and then as time went on, I went to an old boys' school, and I sort of coped it, but then I never really socialized with girls ever. From primary school to high school, I never really socialized with girls. So, and we'll talk about that later. But basically, when it did come to it, I was an absolute wreck, mental wreck. I remember going on holiday. I went to America, London, Europe, all these places. And I remember just being so self-conscious, to the point where I didn't feel like I was enjoying the holiday itself. Because how many people can say they went to, let's say America, London, Europe, India, Malaysia? I went to all these places, but I was never happy, because I was constantly worried about what other people were thinking of me, how they felt about me. Do they see me in a negative light? It was so ridiculous, but that's how I felt at the time. And then this was around grade 10, 11, matric, even grade 12. And I went to college, and then when you let's put it this way, when you get thrown from an all boys school to college where there's boys and girls, it's a disaster waiting to happen. And I found that I would often, in a way, studying sort of became my escape route from socializing. Yeah, so I would like study, but it wouldn't be for because I wanted to study. It would just be so that I didn't have to go out with people. And one thing before I carry on, I learned was that, like, naturally when you fear being judged, subconsciously what you do is you sort of shy away from social situations and people in general, and sort of like any friends you do have, you almost keep them at an arm's length because you're just trying to protect your own, like, your self-esteem, your ego. You don't want anyone that gets too close to the point where they can actually, where, like, you feel they can actually judge you, reject you, humiliate you in some way, the way your mind has painted the situation, right? Anyway, back to college, it got to a point where when I actually, obviously there's a situation where you have to talk to girls. You can't run away from it forever. When I started talking to them, I often found that I was kind of like, I was scared, like really, really scared and anxious and like really nervous. And like I had a few simping tendencies where I was just, like, if let's say, for example, if I was complimenting someone, it wasn't because I was complimenting. It's because I just thought that's what you have to do. It wasn't a genuine compliment. It was just for me to get their attention. And it got to the point where I started having anxiety attacks just from being around girls. It was insane, right? And eventually I had to see a psychologist. And basically, it was from there that my psychologist basically told me, firstly, stop comparing yourself to other people. That's one thing I used to do, comparing myself to other people. And secondly, that other people's opinions of you, thoughts of you don't matter, right? So I sort of got better, and then obviously lockdown happened, and I obviously, like, when you're in lockdown, you don't socialize with people, and I've now reached a point where I do want to go out and sort of express myself now, because I've sort of gotten myself in decent shape. Obviously, I still got the gyno, but yeah. So, like, this is just me now looking back at how those, you can see how that sort of affected my life. Fast forward to now, I don't really have that many friends, because I spend my entire life just ignoring social situations. And now I'm at a point where I'm trying to sort of correct that or rectify it, right? So I sort of started to think, like, well, where does this fear of judgment, rejection, where does it come from? Why do we feel the need to impress people? If you're a man, like, why do you feel the need to impress, like, a woman? Right? So the thing is, something I learned is that, like, humans are social creatures, right? We can't shy away from it. As much as we want to say, oh, I'm an introvert, and I'm an ambivert, and this, that, or whatever, whatever. We are social creatures. We thrive on being around in the company of other people, biologically. And when we aren't, when we or are like rejected or something, it's painful for us. It's mentally painful for us to process that feeling of rejection, right? Or to be or like to not have attention or whatever. So in order to try and fulfill this need for social interaction, we often think that we need to impress others. And you notice this, and let's say I'm talking about a man. No, man that buys fancy cars and good-looking clothes and basically goes out of his way to try to say, hey, look at me, look at how cool I am. Those types of people. Those are people who try to, that sort of, it reminds me of myself. I try to impress people like that. Even like, let's say you exercise, right? You want to show off your body. Yes, at some point you'll say, listen, I show it off for myself because it's my accomplishment. But I know at some point that almost every man has tried to use that or something in their life to try and impress or like people, particularly women. That was like my problem. I try to impress women, which I it's ironic because trying to impress them actually doesn't impress them. So it's like it's ironic. Then I said, actually, well, how do you become better socially? How do you get that social interaction? Well, you actually get it from focusing on improving yourself, self-improvement, right? Whether it's physically, in terms of body, maybe it's through your through your work, like, maybe financially, maybe it's just through doing a hobby or something you enjoy that builds your own confidence. Whatever it is, self-improvement actually causes you to become a bit more of an attractive person in terms of your building a stronger character, a sort of stronger, more attractive personality. Then there's obviously physical attraction, but even just your mindset in general. You find that when you're focused on self-improvement, other people's opinions don't really matter as much, because you're building your self-worth and your self-esteem yourself. So you know your own worth, you're confident in yourself, and other people's opinions really won't matter at that point. Whenever you'll find that I also found that whenever I socialize with people now, the very few times I have socialized, I get into it with no expectations. They call it outcome independent. It doesn't matter what happens. Whatever the outcome is, it doesn't and shouldn't matter. Just live in the moment. Right? Just live in the moment. Okay? And then if I think about like who I feared judgment from the most, it was woman, the opposite sex. Because I think, like, from what I've observed, is that men sort of pride themselves in being able to attract women. Like all the work they put onto themselves, they become more attractive, and it's like, okay, if I can attract like really attractive woman, like I am the guy. It's like an ego kind of thing that we inherently have. Okay, and hence we do things to impress them, and it's just, as I said, ironically, impressing people, trying to impress people does not actually impress them. It doesn't. If you want to impress someone, you're probably going to end up impressing them by your personality, your character, or staying authentic to yourself. I think is the most attractive trait. You know, because a lot of people have follower mentalities. They try to follow others and become like other people, and it's just like, no, we need authenticity in this world. So again, how do we overcome this fear? As I said, focus on yourself. Become more attractive physically, mentally. Do what you love doing. You know, right? Do what you love doing. Naturally, you're confident doing the things you love, and eventually you'll reach a point doing whatever it is you do that you'll find that you love yourself regardless of what other people think and feel about you. And one thing I would say is, when it comes to, obviously I can't control this, is stop focusing on what you can't control. That is other people's opinions of you. You can't control them, those opinions. And focus on what you can control, which is yourself, your own actions, your own decisions, your own choices that you make. Focus on what you can do. Okay? And then just to finish off, okay, to all the women out there, as much as we have to, self-improve as men, I'm purely talking from a man's perspective. I can't speak from like a woman's perspective. From a man's perspective, your words and actions greatly impact the way young men act and think. Okay, I know, because I used to like act according to. I used to like when I wasn't focusing on myself, I used to act like based on how girls used to react to me, and all that was stupid, right? What I would say is, as much as we men have to work ourselves, women also have the choice of using words and actions that either uplift us, right, or to break us down. For us, for me anyway, self-esteem took time for me to build, and I know a person's self-esteem can really be like destroyed in an instant by any sort of bad words or actions or experiences. Especially like with women. Like I would know, like even if I am somewhat better now, if I had a bad experience with a woman, it would hurt. If a woman called me ugly or something like that, or short, yeah, it wouldn't affect me that much, but it would still be like, it would be a blow to my self-esteem. So it's about choices. We have to focus on ourselves. All of us have to, men and women, we all have to focus on ourselves, but like especially women, like you have a choice as to how you act and what words you say to men. It's something to keep in mind. Don't seek to break men down. Look to uplift them wherever you can, because just know that most guys are still struggle. They're struggling with this. They're struggling to find themselves. They're struggling to focus on themselves, struggling to sort of find their own purpose. And I think in order to do that, they sort of need, I think that in giving them that initial confidence, whatever situation you're in, it helps. It does help. So yeah, so look, that's all for me. That's all I want to say. We all have to self-improve. We all have to just become better versions of ourselves, and most importantly, we all have to exchange positive energies. We need to we need to go back to being able to socialize properly. I don't think socializing is a complicated thing. It's simple. I think if you are focusing on the right things in life. Okay, so thank you for watching. I am now gonna go and wait for Manchester United against Palace, and I hope we win. I've also been trying to work on live streaming, so hopefully I can get that done, because I like live reactions. I just find I like that anyway. Thank you for watching. Share this with, subscribe, share this with the person who needs to hear this. Okay, thank you guys.